Welcome back to the channel, and today I answer a question that I've been excited to share with you guys. Is poker my full-time job? If you've watched even one video of mine, you know for a fact that poker is definitely not my full-time job, or else I'd be bankrupt and living under a bridge. So today I'm going to reveal what I actually do for a living, so pause the video and comment down below what you think my full-time career is. But here's the catch. If you get it wrong, you have to promise me that you'll hammer those like and subscribe buttons. Believe it or not, but I'm actually a rice farmer in a small town in the Sacramento Valley. So for every single one of you that got that wrong and thought I was an accountant with my monotone voice, I'm gonna need you to hammer those like and subscribe buttons to help me reach my new year-end goal of 5,000 subscribers. All right, let me break it down for you guys. I'm a fourth-generation farmer, and I'm in business with both my dad and brother, who you could see on your screen. To give you guys an idea of what we work on, let's take a quick flyover in the drone. So what you're seeing is part of our 500-acre ranch that's at the beginning stages of ground prep before we flood the fields with water. The beautiful thing about rice farming is that it's really helped me dial in my poker mindset because of one major factor. You're just never guaranteed to make a profit. In both poker and farming, you could do every single thing right and somehow still not make money. In poker, you can make all the right plays on paper, but you could still lose your ass when variance decides to hit. And trust me, variance will always hit. But the same goes with farming. You could do all your ground prep perfect and have an awesome crop, but then out of nowhere, Mother Nature can just decide she wants to wipe you out, and there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. So throughout the years in both of these ventures, I've learned that nothing is guaranteed in life, but if you stick to a process and always try to do the right thing or make the right play, more often than not, everything will work out for your benefit and you will get rewarded. Now that you guys know what I do for work, I'm very curious what the jobs out there are in my audience, so drop a comment down below. Now that work is at full steam for a little bit, I'll hop into Thunder Valley on my way home from work and play for an hour or two because, as I always say, some poker is better than no poker. So that's where we are for our first session of the week. We hopped into the 1-3 game and bought in for the maximum of $400. We played a short session, so there were only 2 hands of note, but I thought they were both pretty unique to share. In our first playable hand, there's 1 limp in middle position, and the hijack raises to $15. He's been opening a ton of hands since the session began, so when I look down at King 3 of diamonds on the button, I think it's time to put some pressure on him and throw in the 3-bet. I raised the price of poker to $45, but what I definitely didn't expect was the limper cold calling off of a short stack. The hijack also puts in the call, so now I'm going 3 ways to a flop with probably the worst hand I've ever 3-bet in my life. We go to a flop, and it comes out ace-ace-queen with 1 diamond, and when they check to me, I didn't 3-bet this pre-flop to just give up, so I throw out a $40 bet, and after some major tanking from the limper, they both eventually decide to toss their hands in the muck, and of course I have to show the table.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I had 7 high.
In our next interesting hand, we throw on the $6 straddle, and 4 people decide to put in the call. I look down at ace-deuce offsuit and check my option. We go 5 ways to a flop, and the dealer throws out a 5-4-3 rainbow board, giving us the flop straight. When you're out of position and make a monster hand, I think it's best to just go ahead and bet right away rather than waiting to check raise, because that move looks a lot stronger and you can allow your opponents to get away too easily. So I start off with a $10 bet and just 2 people put in the call. We go 3 ways to a turn, and it brings out the 10 of clubs, putting 2 clubs on the board. I decide to size up now since the backdoor flush is available, and I need to get value from a 6x holding, so I continue the aggression with a $45 bet. Only one of the early position limpers puts in the call, so I think at this point he has a ton of 2-pair holdings or a hand like 6-5 or ace-3 of clubs. So with that in mind, we go heads up to a river, and the dealer throws out the 10 of hearts. I still think I have the best hand 100% of the time because I would have heard from flop sets, but I didn't really like this card because now all of his 2-pair hands get counterfeited. So I go with the same bet strategy and bet $45 looking to target a small 2-pair holding. Our opponent seems visibly annoyed with the spot, but eventually decides to put in the call. We turn over our hand, and our opponent tosses his in the muck. The ace-deuce hand you guys just saw was the only interesting hand we had today, so as for results, we were into the game for the original 400 and out for 508 for a nice little hit-and-run profit of $108. And as for the month, we are currently down $1,576, so in order to avoid our first losing month, we're going to need to pull off a mini miracle. Let's see if we can make it happen. At the start of day 2, we missed a massive straight draw in a big pot, so I had to add on $200 to get those chips back in play. So right away, we are into the game for $700 total. Not too long after I added to my stack, this crazy hand happened. The $6 straddle is on, and early position puts in the call. I look down at 7-8 of clubs and raise it up to $30. Just a small blind decides to put in the call, and this guy has been playing super wide, so I'm absolutely loving the fact that I'm in position. We go to a flop, and the dealer throws out a 7-5-3 rainbow board, giving us a weak top pair. When he checks, I throw out a $25 c-bet, and he wastes no time before putting in the call. The turn comes out the 9 of clubs, and the small blind decides to check and flow. I don't think I could get called from worse at this point, so even though we picked up a flush draw, I decided to just check it back for some pot control. We go to a river, and it comes out the 3 of clubs, giving us a backdoor flush.
Oh! Oh, kill him! Oh, kill him! Oh!
Our opponent does something I wasn't expecting and leads out for $100, which is music to our ears. I don't think our opponent could ever have a full house given the action, so I think the majority of hands I put him on are 3x or a hand like 6-8 for the straight. So I gather my thoughts and waste no time before shoving all in. Our opponent doesn't snap call, so I'm absolutely loving life because we should almost always have the best hand. He says he doesn't know how he could fold this and eventually flicks in the call. I happily turn over my hand, and our opponent turns over ace-6 of clubs for a better backdoor flush.
Oh, don't cry, are you?
Like I said earlier, you can make all the right plays on paper, but when variance decides to hit, she shows no mercy. After doubling that guy up, we added on another $300, so we're now into the game for $1,000 total. We're down over $500 at this point, just 30 minutes into the session, so either I need to turn it around, or at this rate, I will honestly be bankrupt and living under a bridge. The hijack throws in the $3 limp, and I raise king-jack offsuit to $15 in the cutoff. The button, big blind, and limp are all put in the call, so we're going 4 ways to a flop of king 7-3 with 2 clubs, giving us a decent top pair. When the action is on me, I decide to throw out a $35 bet to get value from gut shots, flush draws, and worst king X hands, and only the big blind puts in the call. We go heads up to a turn with $130 in the middle and see the 5 of hearts. She checks me, and this player is very capable of overfolding, meaning if she has a flush draw, she won't call a massive bet, so I decided to throw out a half-pot bet of $65, and she doesn't hesitate before putting in the call. We go to a river, and the dealer throws out the 6 of hearts. She checks for a 3rd time, and I honestly don't see any point in betting because this specific player doesn't 3-bet king, queen, or ace, king, so I check it back, and she says that she missed the flush, and we turn over the winner. In this next hand, early position opens to $15, and I look down at ace-king offsuit and decide to raise it to $40 in position. The action gets folded back around to him, and he sticks in the call. The flop comes out king-6 deuce with 2 spades. When he checks it over to me, I decide to throw in a super small c-bet of $20. My reasoning for the super small bet is that I know I have this player beat 1000% of the time on this flop because he's never opening pocket 6s or pocket deuces in early position and is always putting in the 4-bet with kings. But to my surprise, he decides to raise up my c-bet to $65. I don't think there's anything other to do than just call because I want to keep all his semi-bluffs in there. So I put in the chips and we go to a turn which is a complete blank in the 7 of diamonds. Our opponent doesn't slow down and continues the aggression for $110. He only has about $150 left, so I think the best move is to go all in and charge his flush draws. He goes into a long tank, but eventually decides to muck his cards. With how big the pot was, I think he probably would have called off with all his flush draws, so maybe he overplayed a hand like queens or jacks, and my small flop c-bet induced a raise. But we'll never know, but I'm always happy to just take down a solid pot and get closer to the even mark. Since we were at the must-move table, we got moved to the main game, and for the next 2 hours, we just went card dead and bled chips. So in this next hand, the $7 straddle is on, and an early position player opens up the action to $25. Next that calls, and I look down at Jack-8 of clubs in the big blind. I usually fold this garbage, but as you guys know, I don't do this for my full-time job, and I'm just a wannabe content creator, so I decide to stick in the call. The straddler also calls, so we're going 4 ways to a flop with a Benjamin in the middle, and the board runs out 10-8-6 rainbow. I check and flow, and surprisingly, the action gets checked around. Turn brings out the 3 of hearts, bringing in a backdoor flush draw, and I think I have the best hand given the action, so I lead out for a $35 bet. Only a station in middle position puts in the call, so we go to a river, which comes out the jack of diamonds, giving us 2 pair. I don't really know what I'm targeting now, but a value bet is definitely in order. I grab a stack and throw out $85 in chips, and our opponent snap calls. I turn over our hand, and it's good after our opponent turns over Jack 5 of hearts for the missed backdoor flush river top pair. In this next hand, a tight player opens up to $15 in early position, and I look down at 9-8 of hearts in middle position and put in the call. 3 others decide they want to come along as well, so with $75 in the pot, we go to a flop 5 ways, and it comes out 10-6-5 all hearts.
Oh my God! Wow!
Tight player starts off with a check, and I will never slow play vulnerable flushes in such a multi-way pot, so I throw out a c-bet of $40, and everyone folds. But no complaints here, because any money headed in my direction is always good with me. In our last interesting hand to note, I got recording a little late, but an early position player raised to $15. I call with King-Jack offsuit, and 2 other people put in the call. The flop came out King-Jack-Jack with 2 hearts, and we flopped ourselves a full house. Since there's a flush draw out there, I don't think there's any need to slow play, so I throw out a $20 bet, and we get 1 customer from the hijack to come along. So we go to a turn, and it comes out the 3 of diamonds. Our opponent only has about $115 left, so I throw out a value bet of $35 to hopefully keep him around, and he doesn't hesitate before sticking in the call. So there's $170 in the pot, and our opponent has about a half pot bet left. So the dealer burns and throws out the 5 of hearts on the river, bringing in the front door flush. I'm honestly loving this card because it seemed like he was mainly on a draw this entire time, so I waste no time before putting them all in. He thinks about it for a while and says that he absolutely hated the river and mucks his cards. So what I thought was the best card in the deck was actually the worst because he told me he had King-Queen offsuit. But once again, no complaints here when money's getting thrown in my direction. That was our last hand since 2 p.m. hit, which is when we always leave, so let's get to the outro. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get ourselves out of the huge hole we had in the month of April of $1,576, but we did manage to book a profit today. In for $1,000 and out for $1,002 for a $2 profit. For the month of April, we played 42 hours and 45 minutes of live poker and lost $1,574 for our biggest losing month ever. I definitely didn't play my best, but the variance hit us like a ton of bricks. Just gotta keep learning from my mistakes and get after it for the month of May. Thanks for all you guys' support, and I hope there was at least some entertainment from my pain.